Hi everybody, Kristen here. This is our new Free Spirit Beading video of the week. I hope everyone had a lovely holiday weekend. I know that I did. I enjoyed little extra time off because Softflex company was closed on Thursday and Friday, so gave us a little extra time to relax and regroup and spend time with our family. Hi Pamela. Hi Kathy. Glad you were able to make it today. Nice to see you live. So hi Elizabeth. Hi Liz. How's it going? Hope everyone had a wonderful 4th of July celebration here in the US. And I think Canada Day was also recently. So if you're in Canada, you had a great time celebrating there too. Hi Lydia, good to see you. So today is July 8th. Liz, it was hot. Yes, it's been very hot. We got a chance to get out of the heat yesterday, and that was fabulous. Sharon watching from the comfort of home today. That's always nice. Thanks for joining us, Sharon. So today is July 8th, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but we have some sales going on. So I always like to tell you at the beginning of the week what's happening. We've got 2 fantastic offers currently, and they are buy a knitting spool. So we've got knitting spools online in a 3-pin, a 4-pin, and a 5-pin. So there's 3 different sizes. So you buy a knitting spool and you will get a free 15-foot spool of our Pro Econoflex medium diameter wire in our gold color. So that's what we're going to be working with today. So I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that product. And that's a $13.99 value free. So that's pretty sweet deal. Sharon, you know, that's a good question. She's asking, how is everyone in Sonoma? All okay from the earthquake? I know that the earthquake was down further south, so I actually haven't heard if anyone in Sonoma was affected. Nobody has said anything about it. I don't think they felt it up where they are. But that is a good question. I hope everyone is okay. No one in the office has mentioned it. But like I said, we've been out of the office for a couple of days, and today is our first day back. So everyone's a bit busy buzzing around today. But thank you so much for checking in. I'm sure everyone was fine. And I hope everyone down south that is affected by the earthquake is doing okay, because that just sounds scary for it to happen once and then to have all of these extra earthquakes happening on top of it. It just seems really, really scary. Hi, Joan. Nice to see you. Welcome. So I was just sharing with some of our, some of our sale offers are for this week. So we've got buy a knitting spool, get a 15-foot spool of medium diameter Pro Econoflex wire in gold color, free, and that is a $13.99 value. We also have going on a 20% off all Pro Econoflex products. So even if you wanted to buy the fine 014 or the medium 019 and in stainless steel or in gold color, any of those would be 20% off right now. And that goes on until tomorrow, July 9th at midnight. Anyone in the US, if your order is above $50, you'll have the option of free shipping at checkout. And last thing I wanted to note that if you took advantage of our previous sale, spend $59, get $10 credit, all of those credits have been applied to your shopping accounts. So that was applied on July 3rd. So you can go ahead and shop if you took advantage of that offer. And when you go to checkout in the payment section, there will be a spot that says apply store credit. And it should automatically be checked, but if it's not checked, check it. And then you can go ahead and apply that first before the rest of your payment. So it'll take off the $10 and you can put in your payment information for whatever else you have in your cart. There's no minimum, so you could just have $10 in your cart. That would be fine too, and you get the credit. You have until August 31st to use that credit or you'll lose it. So make sure to get in there and use that credit before the end of August. If you are supposed to have a credit and you don't see it apply, just send a message to info@softflexcompany.com and we will check that out for you. All right. So let's see what else we got going on here. So today I'm going to be making a knitted bracelet with you guys, and we're going to be using the Pro Econoflex wire in gold along with some Swarovski crystal bicone beads. And I will tell you guys a little bit more about the products and stuff as we're working. So let's flip down and I'll give you guys a little tour of what supplies we need, and I also have some new items to show you, so I'll show you guys those new items quickly here in the beginning too. So yay, beading with friends time. All right. So I've got a few things happening here. Let's start with some of our new products. So in the world of craft wire, we have a new square wire that's been loaded online just last week. And you can find this in the new category. If you go to shop new, you'll find all of our new products in there. Also, you could find it right on the home page. It should be in the new products section right on the home page. So we've got some new square wire, and we've got it in 21 gauge, and I think the other one is 18 gauge, and a couple of colors, a gold, a silver, and a copper. And we're waiting for some of those colors to come in, so we'll get a few more trickling in to fill that colorway. And then we also have the half round, which that is not new, but that is on our website. We don't talk about it a whole lot, so I wanted to share that with you. So this is a square wire. This one's half round, so it means it's flat on one side and rounded on the other side. And then our regular wire that we use all the time, like this one here, would be considered a round wire. So we've got round, which comes in all the different colors and bunch of gauges. And then we have a limited supply of the half round, and then we just got in the new square. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I haven't used the square before, but James has been experimenting over the weekend, and he posted some really great pictures in the Softflex VIB Facebook studio group for some examples. So hopefully he'll be doing a tutorial with that soon for you guys. And then we'll learn a little bit more about how to use those different wires. Sharon says, I love this technique, knitting with Softflex and wire. I also have hand knotted with Softflex. Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to knit with Softflex wire. It's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing. Knitting in general is relaxing, so it's nice to translate it into your jewelry making sometimes. And I praise you for hand knotting because I can't hand knot, so great job, Sharon. I know you can knot Softflex wire, but I'm just not a hand knotter, so that is something truly unique and special. So we also have our shades of coral bead mixes. So these are new online as of about a week ago. So we've got some of these still left in stock, and we have the shades of coral bead strand. We've done a few videos with the shades of coral kit, and I think I'm gonna do another video on Wednesday on Facebook for you guys, and that will be using the shades of coral color, so you'll get more design ideas. Liz says, I've seen the square wire used with pendants. Yeah, I believe the square wire is used a lot. It's typically the base holding stones that are banded together with a half round wire. And you can also band with the square wire too. It has a really cool look. I think it has a very elegant finish on it. From what I saw from the work that James did, it was really nice. All right, so now that I've got those two out of the way, let's talk about our project of the day. So I am using some 5mm Swarovski crystal bicone beads. Pamela is asking if I use shades of coral to make necklace that I'm wearing today. It's very cute. Thank you. I didn't use shades of coral, but it does have those pink and blue colors. Oh, it's similar. I ended up using what did I use here? I think it was chrysoprase. No, chrysocolla. That's what it is. So it's a chrysocolla little puffed square stone. And then these are Softflex CZ beads, and this is in like a light pink color. And these are super pretty, you guys. If you haven't checked out our CZ beads, you should give them a look because they're really sparkly and they have some fun shapes. I just like this little nuggety shape. And then I've got a little citrine in here too. And these are all created with Softflex connectors. So this is all Softflex beading wire and crimps. This is the antique brass Softflex color. But yeah, the CZ beads, I think this was a short strand. We have a few CZ beads cut into short strands because they can get a little pricey. And so this was just a short strand. So I just had 4 beads that I ended up using with the CZs in there. And that kind of just gives a fun pop. And those colors are from this pendant that I picked up at a bead and button show many years ago from a wonderful artisan, Tesori Trovati. It's a little hard to say, so maybe I can add it in the description later so you guys can check her out. I don't know if she's making pendants at the moment, but I'll link to her anyhow. Pamela says, I'm really into the odd shapes. I will check into your beads. Me too. I love all of our little nuggety shaped beads and things that have that organic kind of fun odd shape feel to them. So yeah, go check them out. I know you see some of our live sales. The quality of the beads online are a comparable, if not, just as great or better what you see in the live sales. It's just not as easy online to show the beads as when we show them in a live sale and can hold them and get the light hitting them. But just know that the quality is really great and we have a wonderful return policy. If you ever are not happy with something, be sure to let us know as soon as you get your order and we will check it out. CZ beads, yeah, cubic zirconium beads, and we have them listed as CZ beads online. So I've got a cutter here for my tools. I've got my magical crimping plier. You can use this one or a regular crimping plier. And I've got a knitting spool. I'm just gonna move this guy. I'm using a 3-pin knitting spool today. And like I said, we sell them in 3-pin, 4-pin, and 5-pin. I believe we have the smallest quantity of the 5-pin. That one's a popular size. And that one creates a very thick rope, I guess you say, or knitted portion here. So that's basically the difference, is that the 3-pin is going to be your smallest rope, your 4-pin will be the next size, and then your 5-pin will be the largest. The other thing I noticed when you're looking at the 2 different spools is that the 5-pin center hole is a lot larger than the 3-pin center hole. And what that means is you'll be able to get larger beads down this size than you will be able to get down this size, because you have to make sure your beads are gonna fit down this little hole here in the center. And so as you can see, there's quite a big difference between the 5-pin and the 3-pin. So if you're someone that works with larger beads or likes a larger look, you're going to want to go with a 4-pin or a 5-pin. And if you like a little the smaller look or working with smaller beads, or even just want to use less wire, then you're going to work with something more like a 3-pin, because when you've got 5 pins, you're going to use a lot more wire to create your piece than you are with a 3-pin. I need to get the 4-pin to finish my set. I do too, Pamela. I only have the 3 and the 5, which is why I'm just showing you these two today. I don't have a 4-pin yet, so that's sort of the one in the center. It's so funny to me because I usually use the 5-pin, but lately I've been enjoying the 3-pin, and I never realized that the hole down the center was so different in diameter, and that does make a difference with the type of beads you can choose. I'm working with 5mm beads today, but I found I had to alternate where I put them. I couldn't put a bead in between each knit because they wouldn't fit down this little hole. So I had to alter my design slightly so that I kind of put a bead here, then I knitted there and knitted and then here to kind of make sure they fit down. All right, so I have this one started. I'm actually complete with where I am here. And I wanted to show you guys how you take it off the spool, and then we'll start a fresh one so you can see how you start this particular knit. So if you go to softflexcompany.com and you click on School of Design, we have, oh, Liz, that's just what I'm getting to. I have patterns online, exactly. You read my mind. So if you go to softflexcompany.com and you click on the School of Design, you can then click on Tips and Tricks, and in that section, we have 3 knitting styles. We have knitting style 1, knitting style 2, and knitting style 3. And within those sections, we've got written instructions with pictures on how to do each style. And we also have some videos how to do each style, as well as how to finish it. So you can always go there. Thank you for linking Softflex Company. Damien is here today helping us with some links. He just linked to the tips and tricks section. So you can always go there and find the 3 different knit styles with basic instructions. And then of course, here on YouTube, we have a whole playlist that is all knitting, and that is knitting with beading wire and knitting with craft wire, as you can use either one in your projects. So that's another source for you to go and check out a bunch of videos. But if you want to specifically see the 3 different patterns that we show, you can find them in the tips and tricks section. And just to give you a little, actually, let me give you a little example here of them. So this is knit style 1 in a very loose tension knit with no beads added. This is just Softflex beading wire in the antique brass color. Hey Sheesh, welcome. Good to see you. So this is knit style 1, no beads, loose tension. It's very fun. It's got a super springy, flexible feel in this particular knit. Now this is knit 1 again, and this was done on a 5-pin knitting spool. So this is knit 1 again. This one is done with our Pro Econoflex wire in gold on the 5-pin knitting spool. And it is the flexible knit 1 style, but after I knitted, before I closed up the loop on one end, I dropped these pearls in the center to give it like a knitted cage pearl feel. So those 2 are both knit style 1, just looser tension, tighter tension, and beads, no beads. And both are on a 5-pin. Knit style 2, I don't actually use very often. I don't think I've ever done it, so I don't have an example of that one. But I do have this one, which is what we're going to be doing today. This is Knit Style 3. So this is Knit Style 3 done with 2 Softflex wire colors. This is the pink rhodochrosite and our white quartz. And you'll see this is a much tighter knit style. And when you're using 2 beading wire colors, the tension stays nice and tight. I'm also wearing that example here with a chrysoprase and turquoise beading wire colors. So this again is Knit Style 3. And I don't remember what spool I did this on. 2, 3, 4. I want to say this might be a 5-pin, but with the 2 wires, it comes out like a really nice tight knit. I believe this is the 5-pin as well. So today we're going to use the 3-pin. And just to give you an idea of what we've got going on here, so we're using the 3-pin in Knit Style 3, but we're adding beads to it. So that's why it has quite a different overall feel, is we've got these beads sprinkled throughout the center. So now that I'm done with this particular piece, I am going to cut this off, show you how to end it, and then I'm going to show you guys how you start it so that you know what I did to get to this point here, okay? So let me grab a bead stopper since I've got my beads on here. Cut off my wire and just put the bead stopper on there. In this case, I did not drop the beads in. In this case, I knitted the beads on here. In this one, the beads are dropped in the center. So this one's dropped in the center. This one's actually knitted, woven throughout. So once you cut off your wire strand, you'll see that this wire is coming from my number 1 section here. I want to take this strand and I want to tuck it under the loop that's here on number 2, and the loop that's here on number 3, and then the loop again here that's number 1, and then I'll pull it tight. And you can, I'm probably going to use my stylus to just give myself a little bit of space there, like that. And I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to slide it underneath those 2 loops, and then I'm going to pull it there. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to grab my stylus and just make room so that I can get in there kind of easily. And you don't have to do this part to make room with, but it did seem like it made it a little easier to get my wire through those loops. And then I'm going to come back to number 1. You're threading the wire through, and then pull the tail. So now I know that I've put that tail through all of these loops here at the bottom to secure it. And now I'm just gonna wiggle these up over the pins, and you can use your stylus actually too for this, and just pop those loops up. It does, because then you don't take it off and it's all kind of super wonky, because then you can just pull this tight. And my first end kind of does it itself when you're knitting. So my second end, and then I just sort of thread through here a few times, because as you'll see, the loops are a little bit large. So I like to come in and just go around and thread them a little tighter. At this point, it's closed, so this isn't like mandatory, but it just helps to tighten your ends down until I've got a little bit more of a neat end there than I did before. So you'll notice that when I tug on this, it's still slightly flexible, but since these beads are woven right in here, it doesn't have as much flex as something like this. See the difference there? So that one you really can flex. This one you can flex just a little bit, but those beads are gonna hold it in place more. Yes, and your cones are going to cover a lot of this. So we'll show the cones. I'm gonna show you how to finish it off and put a clasp and stuff at the end of the video, but that's how you take your knitted piece off the spool once you're done. And I will get going on the knitting part. Liz, I will explain the difference between Econoflex and Softflex. I just wanna, let me get our knitted thing a little set up here, and I'll talk a little bit more in the process. All right, so today we're using the Pro Econoflex. So you'll see it says Pro up here, Econoflex wire, and we're using this in the gold color. I've used most of it. I've almost done with mine. And then we also have it in our satin silver. It's like a stainless steel color, I should call it actually. So here's the stainless steel color and the gold color. And this is our Pro Econoflex, and it comes in the fine 0.014 diameter in both colors and medium 0.019 diameter in both colors. Pro Econoflex is an affordable alternative for jewelry hobbyists. It's our fine diameter is the first of its kind that we use 49 strands in the fine. You usually will find 21 strands in our regular Softflex beading wire product line. So people have been asking that for years. They wanted a 49 strand product in the fine. So Pro Econoflex offers that. It's the first time we were able to offer it, and it's the only time we offer that in all of our beading wire lines. And the other thing about this wire is that we really wanted to come up with an affordable gold color. So those of you that know our Extreme line, this is the Extreme, Softflex Extreme 24 karat gold. This is a true 24 karat gold plated wire. So it's beautiful. It's got a lovely shine to it, but it is not that affordable. It's definitely a higher end product. You're going to use this with higher end designs, higher end beads, and a higher end finish. But we wanted a gold color for those of us who just want that golden tone, but don't need to spend the money on plating. So that is where this product kind of came into play. And there is quite a bit of savings. So this product, the Pro Econoflex in a gold color in a 30-foot spool, is $13.99 versus $37.50 in the Extreme. So you see there is quite a bit of savings. So if you want to have a golden color in your work with a nice quality wire, this is a good alternative for you. Let's see. I will say that, how do we keep the cost down? That's always a question. Well, how do you keep the cost down between the two? The Pro Econoflex line and our Econoflex line, which is this one here, these are the only products that are not made in the USA. So that does bring the price down because of that reason there. All of our other products, Softflex, Soft Touch, and Extreme, are all made here in the USA. So this is how we were able to get the price down a little bit. Now this product here, we came out with for the, for really the craft and hobbyist line. This is not something we would consider designers reselling their jewelry will use very often, unless you're using it in more crafty applications like knitting or macrame or things like that, where you are not necessarily just stringing. And the reason being is this one is like a 7-strand strength, and it has more of a wiry feel to it. Still a nice product. It's got a great price point, and we were really wanting to create something for the craft and hobby market. That is how this one got started, and then after this came this. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit more about this particular product line that we carry. This Pro Econoflex is fine for jewelry making. This one is fine for all sorts of designs. It's very flexible. It's comparable to our soft flex wire. It's not quite as flexible. It's not quite as kink resistant, but it's a good alternative. And you're right, Sheesh, the Econoflex comes in some really juicy colors. So we've got, I think here we've got like a cinnamon red and a plum and blue. What is this one? Steel blue and white. And they really have a metallic sheen to them. They're really, really pretty colors. I do love the colors in Econoflex. But I will say I did do a knitting example for you with this too, so you can see the difference. I might as well grab that now while we're talking about it. So this is a knitted example with the spring green on the Econoflex wire. So you'll see it isn't quite as fluid, I guess is a good word. It's a little more wiry than soft flex beading wire colors are. But I really love the colors that we got from it. I love the metallic sheen that all of these have. So there's definitely a place for them. Here's another example I did where I did add beads into this particular one. And this is using Knit Style 3 that we're doing today. So if you look side by side, this is the Econoflex, this is the Pro Econoflex with the same knit and similar beads. And the Pro Econoflex is just a little bit neater looking, and it has a little bit more of a flex to it. So yeah, so those are some of just the variations. All right, so let's get started with the knitting pattern. I've got my spool, I've got 3 pins, and I labeled it 1, 2, and 3. You have to string on, hi Dale, welcome. The first thing you need to do is string on the beads that you're gonna be using. Now you want these beads on your strand that you're gonna be knitting from, and I like to work off the spool when I'm knitting, so I don't have to worry about cutting wire or how much wire I need. So I string all my beads right up to the spool, and I have a little bead stopper here. If I'm doing a pattern that I've never done before, like this one I was working on here, I try and string as many beads as possible. I want more beads on here than I hopefully need, so that I'm not gonna run out when I'm knitting. So in this case, that is what I did. I just kept stringing and stringing and stringing beads until I felt like I had way more than I would actually need. And then this way I don't run out as I'm knitting my design. And you can, you know, like with anything, if you do make something too small, like I made this little guy too small here, you can always do something with this. You can cut this off. You can decide, instead of making like a full bracelet, you can attach a cone and then do maybe some wire wrapping or some stringing on the other side so that you only have just a portion of it with knitting. So even if you do run out of beads, don't fret. You can always cut this piece off, save it, and use it. Don't throw it out. I mean, you can say it's something that you can use in a design later. It just might be a little bit different than you originally anticipated. So go ahead and string on all your beads. Like I said, I'm using the 5mm crystal bicones. And I've got our Pro Econoflex medium in gold. I'm going to take off this bead stopper. And I'm going to string my wire down the center of this hole here. And then I'm going to have my tail come up almost about the whole length of the spool. You need to make sure when you're going to pull on this side, you have some slack to do so. So I'm just going to move my wire down on the spool a little bit so I have some slack down here to work with. And I'm going to hold that wire with my, I'm going to be working right-handed, so I'm holding the spool and my wire with my left hand, and I'm using my forefinger to kind of hold that in place. You only need to hold it in place for your first loop, and then you'll be able to let go. I'm just going to pull a little more wire off my spool here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap around the pegs clockwise around the pin and then counterclockwise around the spool itself. So I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to go clockwise from left to right around 1. And then I'm going to go counterclockwise. I move that to 2, and then I go around the 2. Move it to 3, around the 3, and now I'm back to 1. So now I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to wrap it around, not going to loop, I'm just going to wrap around. I'm going to make sure it's above that loop that I had there. I'm going to wrap it around 1, I'm going to wrap it around 2, wrap it around 3. So now I'm back to 1 again. And every peg should have 2 wires around it, a looped wire on the bottom and then another wire on top. Did you guys see that? Do you want me to show it again? Yep, sheesh, I think you're saying you saw it. Says you see it, okay. Okay, great. So now I've got a loop and I've got my other wire wrapped around on top of that loop. So now I'm going back to 1 again and I'm passing it one more time. So I'm going around that pin. This is my 3rd pass, just to 1. And then I'm going to grab a hold of that wire with this finger here. And I'm just going to check on my tail is being held. I'm actually holding it with my ring finger now. And I've got my index finger holding onto this wire. So it's gone around twice, and then the 3rd time it's just passing over 1. And then what I'm going to do is take my stylus, and you want to tuck it into that the center and grab the bottom loop, and the bottom loop comes up and over that first pin. And then I'm going to pull my tail to tighten it, and now I can let go of my tail because I got that first loop on there. It's nice and tight. I can let go of this. So I've gone around the first peg. I'm going to now go around number 2 and do the same thing. I'm just going to go around the outside. I still have those 2 wires on there, so this is the 3rd pass on number 2. I'm going to hold it with my index finger, just like that, and I'm going to grab this little loop, the bottom loop, and go up and over all of them, and then I'm going to pull my tail tight. And now I'm going to go to 3 over those 2 wires, hold it in place, grab my bottom loop, Why doesn't it want me to grab it? Hold on a sec. There it is. Okay. Grab my bottom loop and pull it over. Yes. So the tension is created by pulling on the tail. So on this, when I'm working with beading wire, I usually pull over the loop and then tug on my tail after every one to keep my tension straight. The other thing I noticed, this was especially true when I was working with the regular Econoflex, is when I pulled on the wire tail, I want to make sure that I pull it straight down. If I grabbed a hold of it and pulled it to either side, I kind of messed up my tension a little bit. Because that wire was a little more wiry, it sort of grabbed it and pulled it to the side. And I don't have that issue as much with the Pro Econoflex or any of the Softflex wires. But I wanted to make that note that try and just pull it straight down. Sheesh, I've been practicing all weekend so that hopefully when I came on here, I wouldn't be fumbling. So thanks, I'm glad I made it look easy. That's the point. I want you guys to feel like you can do this too, because you can. So I've done one full pass around 1, 2, and 3. And you always know where you left off because that is where your wire is coming from. So I left off at number 3. My wire is coming from number 3 back to the spool. And I'm gonna wanna go around one more time. I like to do at least 2 wraps before I add beads, just to make sure my knit is nice before the beads get introduced. So we're gonna go around again. So each pin still has those 2 wires on it. You're gonna take this one that's loose and you're gonna go above the other 2. You're gonna grab the bottom loop, and I like to kind of dig into the center of the hole because then you'll know you're grabbing the bottom one. And if you go slow, you can make sure, yeah, I have the bottom wire before you go up on top and over and then pull. Pamela says, so does the bottom loop have to always go over 2 wires? For this knit, it does. This is knit number 3, and for knit number 3, you do have to have the bottom loop go over 2 wires. If you were working on knit number 1, it's the same process, but there's only 1 wire instead of the 2 wires. So that's what makes knit number 3 a tighter knit, is you've got a little bit more wire in there that it's working with. So now I'm gonna go to 2, grab that bottom loop, go up and over. So if you're just starting, I would suggest knit number 1 being the easiest, and that is what most of our videos show, which is why I wanted to come in here today and show you guys knit number 3, because I would consider it just sort of the next level up because you have a little bit more wire you're working with, and it gives you a tighter look. Pamela says, good to know that's the difference between the 2 techniques. You're welcome. You're very welcome. All right, so I'm going to do my last one here. Up around 1, pull my wire down, and now that I've done 2 complete loops, I'm back to number 1 here. This is where I'm going to add my beads. So since I'm working with a bead that's a little bit larger, this is a 5mm bicone, I will show you guys how I got these beads to fit down the center. This is the pattern I ended up using. So you're gonna slide a bead in at this point between 1 and 2, and then you just do the same thing. You cross over 2, you grab the bottom loop, and you go up and over. Dale says, I never start with the easier. Yeah. Isn't that true? It's like you just jump in and go for it. So now that I have a bead here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knit between 2 and 3 without a bead, 1, 3 and 1 without a bead, 1 and 2, and then I'm gonna come and add a bead back at this point. So we added a bead, we're just gonna skip the bead here, go around, skip the bead here, go around, skip the bead here, go around, and now I'm going to add another bead here. And what this did is just gave me a little bit extra breathing room for this larger size bead to really fit down the hole when it starts compressing and getting tighter. So now I'm going to add this bead between 2 and 3. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go all the way around knitting without beads until I get to this spot here again, and I will add it. So I'll go to the next one. And you will find once you're starting to work with the wire and you add the beads in there, the tension gets a little tighter than when you're working with no beads. So now I'm between 3 and 1 again. I'm going to add that bead there. Just going to make sure I grab the bottom one. And you can go back just like I did, just there. I did grab the bottom one. Yeah, I did grab the bottom one. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, I saw a couple of questions. Let me see. Rose says, okay, I may try this again. I've given up on it many times. I'm sorry to hear that, Rose. I hope you do give it a try again. And if you check out our tips and tricks section at softflexcompany.com, we also have some pictures and written instructions there. If you find that you may want to look at it that way as well, sometimes it's easier to learn from a video, sometimes it's easier to learn from step by step, you know, so that'll give you another option. And if you're really struggling, you can always send me an email at kristen@softflexcompany.com, Kristen, and we can see if there's something going on that I can help you out with. She says it just push that bead to the center. It does. Does the space also prevent the beads from scratching each other? It's a good point, Liz. Yeah, if I was doing these right on top of each other, they may scratch a little bit, especially with crystals. Other beads might not be as much of a problem, like if you're using a check glass bead or something like that, the scratching isn't an issue. But if you're using a crystal bead, they could definitely scratch on each other a little bit when they're really close. So as you see, now it's starting to create my knit and your beads are flowing down the center here. I'm going to go around a couple more times. Let's see. It does take a little while to come out the bottom, which is why I always like to give you guys a sample that's already been done, because otherwise you'd be sitting here with me for a little while until we get to that point. So here's a tip of how I always know where my next spot to add a bead is. So if I put this down and pick it up later and I'm like, oh, I don't know where my pattern is, you know you left off here because your wire is coming out of number 1 into the spool, so you know that was your last spot. And this was my last bead because I have one strand of wire up above that bead. So now that I'm like, okay, that was my last bead with a strand, I'm ready to add a bead here, because that means I made one complete pass with no beads all the way back to this point up above that one. So I do add a bead here. If you ever get it past and you see you've added multiple strands and you know you forgot a bead, or if I came here and this did not have a strand above the bead, I know that I still have to go around until that one's complete. So now that I've got a strand above that bead, I know that this is my next spot for this particular pattern to add another bead. All right, I guess we'll stop there, since that is basically all you would do the entire way down until it's coming out the bottom here. And to decide how long your knitted part needs to be, I find, for me, my bracelet size is about, I would say it's about 6 3/4 to 7 inches is where I like to have my bracelet. So I want to leave at least an inch for the cone and the clasp, maybe even up to 1.5 inches. So I tend to knit about, I think I knitted 5.5 or 6 with this one. Yeah, I knitted 6 on this one. So somewhere between 5.5 and 6 is where I tend to like to be. And it all depends on if you want to add, like if you want to do a cone and then add a bead and then your toggle, you're going to want a little more space and less knitted wire. Or if you're going to want to just go straight to, if you're just going to go straight to a cone, to a clasp, you may need a little more knitted wire. Sharon is asking, do the spools come with written general use instructions? Then you can find knitting styles on the website. They do. They come with a very basic, they actually come with the knitting style 1 instructions. It looks just like this. It's just a basic instruction there. And these were written by Sharon Hessen? I'm not sure how to say her last name, but these instructions were written by her and they come with every spool. So you do have some basic written instructions inside there. This is for what we would consider knit style 1. So that is at least something to get you going if you don't have access to the internet or can't check us out online right away. Liz says, so if you accidentally do not pick up the bottom wire, would it make a hole? Yeah, I think it would. I actually don't know that I've, I might have done that on this one. This is one of my first bracelets I ever did with the knitting spool, and I did the knit style 1 very loosely. And if you see over here, this particular section, even though it's kind of wonky all over, this section here looks a little worse. So you can see the rest of it is kind of picked up nicely, and then there's some stuff happening there that I probably missed a step or a spool, and so my wires got a little out of whack. With this particular style, just not having any beads on it and making it very loose, it's not super noticeable. But if you were working with the tighter knit style like this, I think it would be a noticeable issue on something like that. Once the tail and the beads come out of the bottom, it seems easier to measure the length needed. I agree. So once the beads start coming out of the bottom, I was just gonna show you. So say this is my spool and I've been knitting and I've got some knitted wire coming out the bottom here. I take my little measuring tape. And if I wanted 6 inches, I would put 6 inches right at the top here, and then I would measure down to here. And I probably would even start with about 5.5, 5 3/4 if I want 6 inches, because you're going to be making a few extra loops at the end to close it up. So that's how I would gauge it. I would measure from where my knitted part is all the way to the top of the spool. And if my knitted part stopped here, then I would need to keep going, you know, until I get to that length that I'm looking for. Pamela says, I'm definitely going to try style 2 and purchase the 4-pin. What color is the pink bracelet? Dale is asking, please. So the pink bracelet is made with our pink rhodochrosite and our white quartz together. So it's using 2 wires. So you would have 2 spools of wire at the same time that you're doing that technique with. So that's what was used here. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside and we're going to finish off this one so you can see how we finish a bracelet. So let me move this over. And I've got we have a couple of new cones and caps online. We've got these cones here. Liz asked if you were working with 2 wires going around, you have 6 wires to work with. Yes, you do. So you'd have 2 wires going down from each spool, and you'd want to do the same technique. Can you please show how you would use 2 colors? Let me finish off this bracelet here, and if we have some time, I may do that, or I may do that on another video. It may be something, just because it's a little more complicated. It could be something I do next week. I'm trying to think of what we've got going on next week. I might be able to come back here and do 2 wire colors for sure on Monday. I think so, yeah. Liz says, wow, yeah, it's definitely a lot more happening. And generally when we use 2 colors, we don't, I probably will do it on a 5-pin if I'm using 2 colors, so I have a little more space. And I've never done 2 colors with beads. I know that Sarah has. I think she's used small beads, like seed beads, when using 2 colors, but I personally haven't. So I've just done the 2 wires. All right, so we've got some new cones and caps online. We've got these hammered cones, which might be a little bit small. Let's see. I use these when I do the craft wire knitting. Oh, that actually works out okay. So that's the hammered cones on that side. Let me make sure it fits on this side too. And your cones are just a nice way to finish off your bracelet so you don't see this kind of wiry end piece. And we also have these caps, which is a little bit big for our project today, but if I'm using like the 5-pin, you may find that this works really nicely. So I think for today, I'm gonna work with these cones, and these we've got in a bunch of different colors. I'm using the gold color today, but we've also got like an antique gold, an antique silver, a blackened, like a gunmetal color, and a copper. So you're gonna slide on your cone, and then if you wanted to add a bead after your cone, I can add one of these crystals here on the end. And then I'm gonna grab a 2mm by 2mm soft flex crimp tube, and I've got a matching little toggle that we also have available online. You can find these cones and toggles in our new product section right now, or you can find them in the component section. So I'm going to string on my crimp tube. So I've got my cone, then my crystal, then my crimp tube, and then I'm going to string on my toggle clasp, one end of it, and then I'm going to go back through my crimp tube. I'm just going to scooch that down. You want to get your crimp nice and close, but you also want to leave some room for your toggle to move around. So now I'm going to just get these guys out of your line of sight here. Okay, so now I'm going to use my magical crimping pliers. My magical crimping pliers have a notch on each side. These work with the 2mm by 2mm crimp tubes only, and they work with the 0.019 wire as well as the 0.014, as long as you've got a few strands going through. Bye, Sheesh, it was good to see you. I'll catch you next time. So you're gonna place your crimp tube right in the center of your crimping plier. If you're using magical crimping pliers, you're gonna give a good squeeze, and then it'll pinch your four corners, and you'll turn it on its side, give it another squeeze. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. I will see you next week. And go around a few more times until you have a nice little bead. And then you can trim off your excess wire. And now you do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to add my cone. Ooh, I just got really warm in here. I had shut off the fan above me. I might have to turn it back on. String on your crimp tube. String on your other half of your toggle or clasp. Go back down through your crimp and then scrunch it down. Make sure you've got space for this guy to move around. And then you're going to get that crimp tube right in the center of your pliers. There we go. Give it a good squeeze. You're going to want to see 4 pinch corners, so I'm just going to squeeze it again, try and pinch all 4 here. I only seem to grab 2 that time. There we go. And now scrunch it and go all the way around. and then trim off your excess wire. And now you have a finished knitted bracelet, and this is using Good. I'm glad you got a good one there. Sharon, have to go. Thanks for all the tips. Yes, please do. And I will make a note to show 2 wires next week. Since I haven't done that in a little while, I'll probably have to practice a little bit this weekend. Very pretty. Thank you. Joan says so pretty. Yeah, I think it turned out really nice. You know, I have to say I'm a big fan of the Econoflex Pro Gold. I think it's a pretty gold color. It's got a, you know, it's not quite as bright as the Bidale, as the 24K gold, but I think it's really got a nice look to it, and it works really well with bright findings, as you can see here. And it's so much more affordable. I know, I love the sparkle too. I think these crystals were really pretty. And if you guys remember, I think it was was it last week or the week before? Maybe it was the week before. We did crystals with knitting with craft wire. So this is the difference here with craft wire. And this is beading wire. These are both done, yeah, it looks a little like brass. It has like more of a brassier kind of color to it. So these are both done on the 3-pin knitting spool. This was done with knit style 1. This is done with knit style 3, making it just a little bit larger. But all the finishes are the same, and you can, and I think I used 26 gauge is what I believe we used here for the craft wire. And then here's a second example with the craft wire using a different color. This is like I think this was vintage bronze, but pretty fun. What time is it? All right, it's 1. I had one more bracelet I had worked up. This was done with the regular Econoflex. Elizabeth is asking, what's the size of the beads? So these beads here are 5mm crystal bicone beads. And I believe on this one here was 4mm crystal bicone beads, a little bit smaller. So I have this little example I worked on over the weekend, and I played with the same colors. If you guys will remember, we made these earrings a few weeks back while I was in Milwaukee. We made these fun little green and red, well, I would say like a raspberry red kind of color earrings from the, what is this one called? Night Blooming Garden. So this is the Night Blooming Garden kit that we have online, and you can find this in under beads in the bead mix section. We still have a handful of these left, and I made these earrings from this kit, from this little mix here. And so when I was playing with this green wire, I was like, oh, I should make something to match, because I was like, they are just perfect there. This is the spring green Econoflex wire. And then I added in here some seed beads. These are, I believe these are size 8. Size 8, they're like a raspberry pink seed bead. And I was able to knit this wire with the same technique we did today. Where's my thing? But I think my strand is a little small for my wrist. Yeah, so I only got 4 inches of knitted wire here. So I want to show you guys what you can do if you want to add more space. I think I like this. And this cap seemed to fit better. I don't know if it's because the beads are on here a little bit differently, that the cap fit better on this particular knit than the smaller cones. And then I was thinking I gotta make it a little longer. So I grabbed these two beads out of that night blooming mix. This is also in the night blooming mix that match that purple. So I'm thinking if we did something like that on both sides, and let's see what this measures, we may be able to get closer to the size I need for a bracelet. Yeah, so now I'm at almost 6 inches there. And if we were to add, let's see. So we've got that, and then I've got a little, this toggle is tiny. I need a bigger toggle, I think. So this is how you can play with, if you have a knit piece that's just a little smaller than you'd like. You can add some extra beads to the side. And I'm probably just gonna add a simple toggle clasp. If I find a clasp that's a little bit bigger, give me a little extra room. And all right, let's see if I were to put that there and that there, what this size here. So this will end up being about 6.5 inches. So that seems more doable. Do you pull the finished knit piece through the holes in the board from last week? You don't, actually. It's good. Thank you for bringing that up. So when you're working with flexible beading wire, you do not need to pull it through a draw plate. Because the wire is flexible, it's not going to do anything to the wire when you pull it through a draw plate. Even if it tightens it down, it's just going to spring back up. So the draw plate is only for when you're working with the hard wire, like a craft wire. Or if you're working with, I think Nile used like a draw plate with some of his galaxy wire, which again is like a knitted hard wire. So that's the only time you'll use a draw plate, is when you're using the hard wire there. I wonder if I've got, I do. I wonder if I can add one of these little guys or if it'll make it too big. It might make it too long. Six and a half, and then I add this. This will probably end up being a little bit too long. But I can switch these out for the round one, like we used in the earring, and that may actually work. Now when I'm crimping this regular Econoflex, I'm not going to use my magical crimping pliers. And the reason being is that the regular Econoflex has a little different feeling, and the nylon doesn't feel quite the same. It feels a little more slippery, I guess would be a good word for it. So I'm going to use my traditional crimping pliers. Yeah, this looks like that will actually fit well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the same 2x2 millimeter crimp tubes in gold filled Softflex crimp tubes, but I'm going to use my regular crimping plier. Oop, that one's my micro. I need my regular. And that is just because the magical crimping plier is really geared for Softflex, soft touch wires. It's not going to have the same, this wire here is not going to have the same construction, same tooth, I guess to say, as the other wire does. I'm going to go ahead and clip on a bead stopper on this side so I don't lose my beads there. It worked really well on the Pro Econoflex, the magical crimping pliers, but I just don't feel the construction of the regular Econoflex is quite a bit different, and so I don't feel like the magical will hold. And I'm just gonna scooch my wire, scooch my crimp down. I always feel like this part's kind of awkward. Scooch, scooch, scooch. All right, so there, I'm happy with that. So this is the traditional regular crimping pliers. This one has 2 notches. Let me get that focus there. 2 notches instead of 1. Your back notch, which is your crimper, and your front notch, which is your rounder. You're gonna place your crimp in the back notch first. Let's see if you can see that. Okay, see how it's in the back notch? You're gonna give it a squeeze, and it's gonna create a nice divot between your 2 wires. Then you're gonna turn it 90 degrees so your divot's on its side, and you're gonna put it into the front notch, which is your rounder. Give that a squeeze, and then you're gonna keep it in the rounder and go around a few times. And what that will do is just tighten that crimp, work hard in the metal a little bit, and cinch it into your beading wire. And then you'll go ahead and cut off that wire end. So we've got one side done. And now I'll take the bead stopper off and we could do the other side. Slide on your other half of your toggle, go back through your crimp tube. Pull that down. Once again, you just want to make sure your toggle has room to move around. You don't want to pull it so tight that your toggle is not going to be able to move. And then you'll do the same thing on this side. You'll place your crimp tube in the back notch first. Give it a good squeeze. You'll see that it creates a nice little divot in the crimp. You'll turn it on its side, put it in the front notch. Oh, get my bead out of the way. There we go. and then go around a few more times with that front notch rounder, just tightening that crimp tube down. And then if you wanted to put a cover on it, you could put a crimp cover on it. I might do that after the video, we'll see. And that is a way, when you knitted yourself a little too short of a piece, you can add some beads or some things around it to lengthen the rest. And now I have a little bracelet that'll match my earrings we made. Thanks, Liz. So let me turn you guys back up here. That was fun. I hope you guys learned a lot about knitting today and a little bit more about our Econoflex and Pro Econoflex lines. If you missed the beginning, I talked about how we have a few specials going on. You can buy a knitting spool, any size. We have 3-pin, 4-pin, or 5-pin. Buy any knitting spool and you'll get a free 15-foot spool of the medium Pro Econoflex wire in the gold color that we used today in the video. And then if you just wanted to buy the wire, all of our Pro Econoflex wire is 20% off up until tomorrow. So that is in the fine and the medium, in the stainless steel and the gold colors. And you don't need coupons for either of these deals. They're just for the BOGO is for retail and designer purchases, and the 20% off is for retail purchases, and it'll just automatically show up in your cart. You just add your items to your cart and you'll see the offers show up there. You have until tomorrow at midnight to take advantage of those offers. We'll have a new sale for you guys on Wednesday. What did I see here? Panelists said, love the technique and shared today. Thank you. I saw something else. Oh, I'm not seeing there. Oh, Liz says, what do you do with all of your jewelry? Well, it's a combination of things. I've got some jewelry, like jewelry that I've published or things like that. I have sort of just boxed away for when I need them and show them. I bring them to trade shows to show examples. I give a lot of stuff away for presents, for family members, and occasionally I do sell jewelry too. I have a website where I sell it on, and then I also do craft shows and pop-up shows like that here and there. I haven't done any recently. I don't think I've done any in the last year or so. So I feel like right now I'm just stockpiling so for those opportunities when I may start selling my my jewelry or my wares again. For right now, I'm just wearing it or storing it. Those are basically the two things that happen with it. I know I feel like since I've been doing these videos with you guys every week, my jewelry collection has grown leaps and bounds this year, and I'm starting to try and figure out what it is I should do with it all. But hey, you can never have too many accessories, right? So, so a lot of times I just like to rotate things in my closet, take stuff out, put stuff in, and just like you would your wardrobe, and then you have different accessories to play with. Let's see, what else do we got going on? We have a few videos for you guys this week. I know last week was kind of, we missed our video on Wednesday. So tomorrow, Nile of Silver Silk, he is going to be taking over our Facebook page, and he's going to be doing a Facebook Live at softflexcompany.com with his Colors of India bead tour. So you won't want to miss that. That will be at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time on the Softflex Company Facebook page. He'll be live over there. And I know that he's doing giveaways during his live videos, so you want to catch it live so you can be entered into the giveaway he's running. I have July 10th, I will be doing a demonstration over on the Softflex Facebook page live at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And I plan to be working with our shades of coral bead mix and some Softflex beading wire, but I don't know exactly what yet. So I'm gonna be thinking about that the next day here, what I'll be sharing with you guys. You can catch me on Facebook on Wednesday at 1 p.m. And then we've got James is doing a new tutorial. He's gonna be July 11th. He'll be premiering his new Conversations in Wire with James Browning series. He'll be debuting or premiering, I guess they call it, premiering a new video at 2 p.m. And what that means is he's got a pre-recorded video he's loading up at 2 p.m. and he will be there live at 2 p.m. to chat with you all while his video is going on. So you can ask James questions and he'll be there to answer and just say hey and see you guys live on YouTube. And that's, if I didn't say that, that will be on YouTube. That's at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday, July 11th. Then I'll be back here next Monday. I may be doing knitting with 2 colors of wire because that was suggested today and I haven't done a video like that. I don't know that, not sure if Sarah has either. So yeah, that might be one to do. So I'm gonna think about that and play with it a little bit over the weekend and see what I can come up with for you guys next Monday. And this way, if you grab a spool this week, you'll have a brand new tutorial to check out next week when I'm here. All right, talk to you guys soon. Make sure to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video, and subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. This way we can continue to bring you this awesome jewelry making content on a weekly basis. And I will catch you guys on Facebook on Wednesday. Thanks, Liz. Thanks everyone for being here. It was really a nice project today. I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. I'll see you guys over on Facebook on Wednesday. Bye.